UFC Qatar has officially concluded, and MMA Update Official brings you the complete recap. The atmosphere in Doha was electric as the action unfolded inside the octagon. On the prelims, Alexander Topuria secured a dominant unanimous decision victory over Khamzat Chimaev, moving to 2-0 in the UFC. The win drew attention across the MMA community, with Merab Dvalishvili quickly reacting and congratulating his teammate, saying, "Congratulations, my brother Alexander." Another great win in the UFC. Following the fight, Topuria shared his thoughts on the performance and his mindset as a fighter. He expressed gratitude and humility, admitting he was unsure how the performance looked from the outside but was deeply thankful to be standing with another victory. He emphasized that there are no secrets to success in the sport, only self-belief, a hard-working mindset, and a strong team behind him. According to Topuria, when those elements come together, everything becomes possible. He described himself as someone driven not by fame or recognition but by pure ambition. He said his ambition lies in constantly placing himself in difficult moments and feeling the intensity of competition. He lives for the emotions that fighting brings, whether the outcome is victory or defeat. Topuria reflected on how, although he won today, the experience matters even more than the result. He mentioned hearing someone crying backstage after a loss and reminded everyone that every fighter should still feel grateful to live this life, because very few people in the world get to experience it. Topuria explained that the pain of losing does not take away the significance of the journey. Even if the result goes the other way someday, he would still want to live this life fully, because the highs and lows are what make it meaningful. He acknowledged that it is easy to speak confidently while standing in front of the media after a victory, but insisted that the opponent who shared the cage with him should also feel pride. For 15 minutes, both men gave everything inside the octagon, and Topuria described his opponent as a true warrior who deserves respect. With another win under his belt, Alexander Topuria continues to climb the UFC ranks with hunger, gratitude, and a mindset grounded in courage and ambition. Islam Makhachev's teammate, Sajid Isakhmaev, made his highly anticipated UFC debut, but the night did not go the way he hoped. Isakhmaev faced Nicolas Dalby in a competitive matchup that went the full distance and ended in a split decision. When the final scorecards were read, Dalby was awarded the victory. The result hit Isakhmaev hard, and he fell to his knees in disappointment. Islam Makhachev, who was in his corner for the debut, immediately lifted him back up, gave him support, and walked with him backstage. It was a powerful moment that showed the bond and unity inside the Makhachev team. The defeat marks a tough start to Sajid's UFC journey, especially given the high expectations surrounding him as a trusted training partner of the lightweight champion. Many fans expected a dominant performance, but the fight proved to be more difficult than predicted. Dalby entered the bout on a 2-fight losing streak, which added pressure on both sides. For Sajid, there was the weight of carrying the reputation of the elite Dagestani camp, while for Dalby it was a potential crossroads fight with contractual consequences. After the fight, Nicolas Dalby spoke about what the win meant to him. He admitted that the losing streak had created huge pressure and that 3 poor performances in a row can put a UFC career in jeopardy. Dalby described the feeling as living with the possibility that each fight could be his last. According to him, this victory takes off a major layer of stress and gives him renewed confidence moving forward. However, he emphasized that he has no intention of becoming complacent. The goal is not simply to cash in on the next fight now that he has a win, but to continue working hard and performing well every time he steps into the cage. Dalby expressed respect for Isakhmaev and acknowledged that the fight was not easy. He credited Sajid's toughness and skill, and noted that fights like this remind him why he still loves the sport. Meanwhile, for Isakhmaev, the loss is a setback, but not the end of the road. Many great fighters, including champions, have started their UFC careers with a defeat. With the guidance of Islam Makhachev, Javier Mendez, and the rest of the team, Sajid is expected to learn from the experience and come back stronger. The MMA community responded with support for both fighters, applauding Dalby for returning to the win column and encouraging Isakhmaev to stay determined. The journey continues for both men, and the UFC lightweight landscape gains another compelling storyline as Sajid looks toward his next opportunity in the octagon. Tension erupted backstage when Khamzat Chimaev and Ian Garry crossed paths following the event. What began as a brief verbal exchange quickly escalated into a heated confrontation. Chimaev approached Garry and initially commented on his performance, telling him, "Good job tonight. You looked ready." Garry responded with confidence, saying he was prepared for whoever comes next. The moment took a sharp turn when Chimaev implied that Garry would never fight him, calling him a dog in a dismissive tone. Garry fired back with confusion, asking what the issue was, and the interaction intensified. Chimaev then shoved Garry, causing security and team members on both sides to rush in and separate them. Voices rose as the situation heated further. One of the mediators repeatedly urged both fighters to calm down, saying, "Relax, boys," and trying to control the growing hostility before it got out of hand. Despite being held back, Garry continued speaking directly at Chimaev, calling his behavior childish and unprofessional. He reminded him that champions in the sport are supposed to display discipline and leadership, not aggression that overshadows the accomplishments of others. Garry emphasized that Chimaev's teammate had just earned an important victory and that the backstage altercation was disrespectful to that moment. He insisted that instead of trying to start a fight backstage, Chimaev should be celebrating and supporting his teammate. Garry maintained that he wasn't interested in turning the situation into a spectacle, pointing out that the unwarranted aggression was coming from Chimaev alone. He congratulated Chimaev's teammate again, trying to redirect the energy toward respect rather than hostility. Members of both teams continued to step between the fighters to ensure that physical contact didn't escalate beyond the shove. Eventually, the situation began to cool as both sides were moved apart. Although the altercation ended without further physical conflict, the emotional intensity of the moment was clear. Both fighters walked away visibly frustrated, Chimaev with unspoken anger and Garry with a mixture of annoyance and disbelief at what he referred to as unsportsmanlike conduct. The incident has already generated major speculation among fans and commentators about whether a future matchup between Chimaev and Garry could be inevitable. Their brief but explosive interaction showcased real animosity, competitive pride, and two personalities that clearly refused to back down in the presence of the other. Waldo Cortez Acosta delivered a spectacular performance, defeating Shamil Gaziev by knockout in the first round. The victory was even more impressive considering Cortez Acosta stepped in on just 3 days' notice after Sergey Spivak withdrew from the fight. This marks his second first-round finish this month. Earlier, he knocked out Ante Delia, a teammate of Tom Aspinall, at UFC Vegas 110. In that fight, Cortez Acosta suffered an eye poke and jokingly adopted an eye patch afterward to mock Aspinall. After this latest victory, he handed an eye patch to Michael Bisping during the post-fight moment. Bisping later posted online, "So glad they got the right eye. Congrats, Waldo." Kenny Florian reacted by saying, "Waldo Cortez Acosta with the co-win and eye patch." Michael Chiesa called him, "Salsa Boy," saying he is simply the man. Terrence McKinney joked, "Where's Waldo? First-class trip to title contention." Ariel Helwani added that the only proper way to end the year would be with Salsa Boy on the final card of December 13th at the Apex. During his post-fight interview, Cortez Acosta reflected on the victory and the journey that led to it. He said he enjoyed fighting in this city and appreciated that his wife was able to travel with him for the first time. He expressed that winning by first-round knockout made everything feel even more meaningful. He stated that he wants to build his legacy and show everyone that he can compete against the best without taking damage. According to him, he can fight every week because he trains daily and spars 4 times per week with strong heavyweight training partners. He believes that sparring with someone of equal size and power prepares him to fight anyone placed in front of him. Every time he steps into the octagon, he feels he is at that level. Cortez Acosta explained that experience is everything in this sport. He observed openings in Gaziev's defense from the beginning, especially when Gaziev threw his jab while retreating. Cortez Acosta waited for the right moment, saw the opening, and connected with a powerful right hand that ended the fight. He emphasized that he deserves recognition and said that Tom Aspinall has not wanted to face him due to insecurity about his eye. Cortez Acosta insisted he is ready for that challenge and reminded everyone that he is willing to fight anyone in the top rankings. He asked for the opportunity to continue proving himself and stated that if given the chance, He wants to fight again next month on December 13 to build his legacy and make history. Mykatibek Oralbai delivered a statement performance by defeating Jack Hermansson via knockout in the first round. Hermansson entered the bout after making the move from middleweight down to welterweight, hoping that a new weight class could revive his career. However, the change did not go as planned. This fight marks his second consecutive knockout loss in the first round. His previous outing at middleweight against Gregory Rodriguez also ended brutally, with Hermansson being knocked out cold. The optics of back-to-back devastating finishes have raised serious questions about how much he has left in the sport. The MMA community reacted quickly. The MMA guru suggested that Hermansson should seriously consider retirement for the sake of his long-term health and stability. Luke Thomas also weighed in, acknowledging that Oralbai certainly has knockout power but noting that the finishing shot didn't even appear to land extremely hard. According to Thomas, Hermansson's decision to move down to 170 pounds always looked risky, and this result confirms that the weight cut may not be the right career direction. Critics and analysts are now questioning whether Hermansson's body can still handle the damage and whether cutting additional weight may actually be worsening his durability instead of improving his performance. Meanwhile, Oralbai's stock has risen significantly after a dominant showing. His first-round knockout win immediately elevated him into the conversation as a serious threat in the welterweight division. His striking looked sharp, measured, and confident, and he seemed fully prepared for the moment. Many fans praised his poise and efficiency, noting that he capitalized on Hermansson's vulnerabilities without overcommitting or rushing. Following the victory, Oralbai stated that he and his coaching staff will take time to evaluate the next step in his career. He explained that within the next month they will decide whether he should remain in the welterweight division or return to a different weight class. The team intends to assess where the best competitive opportunities lie and how the matchup landscape looks before solidifying a plan. Oralbai expressed openness to either direction, saying his focus is on continued improvement and building momentum. The contrast between both fighters' current trajectories is striking. Oralbai appears to be entering his competitive prime with confidence and momentum, while Hermansson finds himself at a pivotal crossroads. After two violent knockout losses in a row, many believe the priority should shift toward his health and well-being rather than continuing on the same path without reassessment. The MMA world now waits to see what decisions both men will make, whether Hermansson takes time off, changes approach, or considers retirement, and whether Oralbai continues his rise at welterweight or explores a different challenge.